Stanford, California. Welcome to ESPN College Football, presented by Geico. You know, school hasn't even started here yet at Palo Alto, but already a sense of urgency abundant across campus, and especially with the Cardinal 1 up and 2 down on the season. Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Jones alongside former Stanford DB Rod Gilmore. You still remember your student number?
They remember running over me, too, all over the place on the field. So it's all good.
Quinn Kesnick down on the field joining us in just a bit. Rod, when you talk about UCLA averaging 49 points a game, and maybe come April, they might have the #1 quarterback coming off the board.
Yeah, talent is not a question. Josh Rosen is a fantastic quarterback. Has a little something to prove tonight. You know, he's outstanding. Look at what he did coming into tonight. He led FBS in passing yards and touchdowns, and he's very likely to be one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks taken in April's draft. Our Todd McShay has him as a top 7. But he had a couple of plays last week against Memphis that were not good. He's been beating himself up this week, saying he can't play hero ball, can't turn the ball over, and wants to bounce back from what he thinks was a performance that cost his team last week.
Yeah, 463 yards passing, but they took the L. Meanwhile, his counterpart, Keller Christ of Stanford, maybe playing the worst game of his young career. Started the season off a little bit shaky. He has to convalesce here tonight, doesn't he?
Well, you know, quarterbacks get too much credit, too much blame, but yeah, there's no question. Last Saturday night was not a good day at the office. He said it was a bad night, but he came out to practice this week, flinging the ball around, feeling confident. But there is no question that Stanford needs to get its passing attack going. Keller Christ understands that he needs to be better than that in order for Stanford to have a chance to get back in the win column tonight.
Quinn Kesnick, Bryce Love is a guy you won't be able to sleep on tonight.
Yeah, hold your breath. Don't blink. This is a running back that demands your attention. He can really roll, and he's been ripping off chunk runs all season long. He averages 12 yards a carry, 175 yards a game. He's dynamic, explosive, physical, but what separates Bryce, he's got an extra gear. Track speed in a running back's body, only 43 rushes this season. I think the coaching staff's got to give Love a little bit more of a chance, Jonesy.
Yeah, no pun intended. David Shaw, the head coach of Stanford, 7th year on the sidelines, 3-time Pac-12 Coach of the Year, and he was telling us earlier that he's really tired of seeing his team look fantastic in practice Monday through Thursday and not having it quite translate to the field. Meanwhile, Jim Mora's team, defensively anyway, really hurting in terms of injuries, hoping to get some key people back tonight and perform.
And feeling the effects of not having ever beaten Stanford. Mora is 0-6. His players have been saying, hey, we got to get one for him.
Especially his quarterback, Josh Rosen, who talked about that earlier this week to the media. J.J. Molson to kick off for the Bruins as Stanford wins the toss, electing to receive. This is the home opener for the Cardinal. Last team in the country to play a home game. From the 3-yard line, it's Cameron Scarlett. Got an alley. Eludes Molson, and a great return for Scarlett out near midfield to the 48-yard line.
Well, they set up a right return. Scarlett got a good block and finds the crevice on the right side. You see him led by Palmer to that side. And for a moment, it looked like he might have an alley, but a good angle taken and knock him out of bounds.
First down and 10 from near midfield for Stanford. Scarlett, the backup tailback out of Portland, Oregon. As we take a look at Keller Christ, a guy that is very familiar with the area, with the school. Football is the family business for Chris, not just his dad, Jeet, but his uncle, the head coach at the University of Wisconsin. First and 10. The give is to Love. Runs it into the boundary. A great gain of about 9 yards on the play. Brought down by Josh Woods, and that's actually under his average of 12 yards per carry.
Yeah, and you know, that's the sort of thing that can help Christ if they can run the ball a little bit consistently. You talked about the pressure he's feeling, the tough game last week, part of a football family. There's a guy who was the top-rated pocket passer when he came out in 2014.
Great size at 6'5". Second down and 1. Chris hands it off to Love. Love with the first down and a lot more down to the 31. Got a key block from the talented true freshman Walker Little for a 12-yard gain.
Yeah, Walker Little was inserted at that last tackle spot. He was the #1 overall recruit coming out of high school. He's 6'7", 304, and has added some punch to that lineup. They're trying to get that offensive line into one cohesive unit. So far, first couple plays, looks good.
Coach is talking about trying to get Keller Crisp a lot of confidence early in this ball game. Drops back to pass, and Crisp completes it to Trenton Irwin, the 6'2 junior. And what'd you make of the way he threw that ball?
I'm glad you brought that up about getting him, comfortable. We talked to Mike Bloomgren, the offensive coordinator, about that. He said, when he had Andrew Luck, Andrew got comfortable when he got hit. You spent all week trying not to get Andrew Luck hit, and the first thing he wants to do is get hit in a game to get comfortable. Well, Chris, it's get him a throw that makes him feel good, and that out to Irwin was probably the thing that Chris requested that he be able to throw on the opening drive.
First down and 10 already, just inside the 20-yard line. Backs lining up out of the eye. Love again. Love getting about 3 yards on the play, yeah. Chris won his last 6 games last year to finish out the season, but in that last one in the Sun Bowl, he tore his ACL, and it's been an interesting story to see, Rod, really in the big picture, how quickly he's come back from that injury.
Yeah, I wouldn't underestimate the impact of that ACL. I mean, most people, it takes a year to 18 months. It's only been 8 months for him. And the mental aspect and the physical aspect, there's got to be something lingering there a little bit.
Second down and 8. Has time and underthrows his receiver, Donald Stewart, who was wide open.
Yeah, and that's the one. You saw some of that if you're a Stanford fan. You watched him against San Diego State, miss a couple of these. And this is just being too careful, too perfect. Just instead of letting it rip, he's trying to be too fine with it. So you can tell he's not quite in the rhythm yet. Had Stewart completely by himself.
Yep. Third down and 8. Stanford has struggled to score, albeit put up over 60 in their first game. Christ into traffic. Incomplete, intended for Irwin. Octavius Spencer broke it up, Rod, dangerously into coverage that time. He was fortunate not to have that picked off.
Yeah, I don't know if he made up his mind beforehand that he was definitely going to Irwin. I mean, it looked like he had J.J. Arcega-Whiteside down the middle of the field. He had some probably on a post, but he comes back out to Irwin into double coverage. Not the smoothest start for Chris.
And now comes Jet Toner in to attempt this field goal from 34 yards out. Perfect 4 of 4 on the season. And he knocks it through. Stanford on its opening drive moves it down the field for 3 points. We'll be back right after this. Okay, and then back here after that 7-play, 35-yard drive. Using 2:43 on the clock, Stanford leading 3-0, able to get some points on that opening drive. UCLA going to get a shot here. Darnay Holmes takes a knee, and it'll come out to the 25-yard line, first down and 10, where Josh Rosen, the UCLA quarterback, will take over. First down and 10 with 12:13 to go. 6'4", 218 pounds, a live arm, 463 yards last week. And the interesting thing about him is that he takes care of his guys up front, buying them dinner every week, amongst other treats. You gotta love a teammate like that, Rod.
Well, I know that you follow him around the locker room. Buying dinner, what else might he drop on you?
Other little treats?
Yeah.
First down and 10. Jamobo in the backfield, pass complete to Theo Howard. You saw Rosen get rid of it quickly. Rosen, interestingly enough, there are a lot of people that either love him or a lot of people that don't like him that much. He is a polarizing figure. Second down and 6. Tell you more about that in a bit. Very outspoken, hands it off to Soso Jamobo. known to have make his mind known on social media.
Well, he's a young man that grew up in Manhattan Beach. It's a wealthy enclave of LA. His dad was on the short list of possible surgeon generals for the Obama administration. You know, comes from a family that has been athletically involved and has been very successful financially.
Mom and dad, ice dancers back in the day. 3rd and 19, Rosen moving around and drills it. Boy, what a throw and catch at the 39. Jordan Lastly is going to come up about 4 yards short on the 14-yard gain, but we saw a little bit of mobility that time from Rosen.
Well, the knock on Rosen is that if you get him to move laterally, he's not as accurate. Well, he does a nice job that time moving to his left, making an accurate throw on the sideline. Does a great job with it, but he's got a lot of strengths. They came up a little bit short on that 3rd down.
Zephyr Flintoff with a punt from midfield. Ball fumbled at the 15 by Jay Tyler. And UCLA recovers it. Tyler couldn't get the ball back, and Johnny Denblaker, the long snapper, recovers it. UCLA catching a huge break.
Well, he drops this, but it's right in front of him, so he just couldn't get back on it. Look, he's got time, but he doesn't get his body down, and they rip it away from him. And when you're in a scrum, you're in a scrum. You can't assume that it's just going to be an easy deal. UCLA gets in there and rips it away.
Here's another look at it. It appeared like he literally fell on it.
It bounced right to him like an infield grounder, but he didn't get all the way down on the ground.
So 1st and 10 from the 15-yard line for the Bruins. Trying to capitalize on this turnover. Handoff goes to Jamobo. Nowhere to go. Good tackle by Callum Bealey.
So this offense is really a pass-first offense. The rushing attack tends to be a perimeter rushing attack. Stanford has struggled defensively against the run, so you get the sense UCLA is testing it, but what they really want to do is throw it. And they got a couple of guys who can really catch it. Wilson, the tight end, Andrews, the wide receiver, those are guys you look for down here.
Now Wilson, the big target, Rod, at 6'4", and now they go empty formation.
Yeah, he split out to the right down there.
Into the end zone, in the seam, incomplete, intended for Darren Andrews, who had that 65-yard touchdown catch last week in that shootout against Memphis. 3rd and 10 coming up for Rosen.
So, you know, we talk about the key receivers. Well, UCLA's receivers are matched up against 2 really good corners in Elijah Holder and Quentin Meeks. And that's why you start thinking down here, the guy that might have the best matchup is Wilson, 81. He's the guy that catches the ball well and might not draw as much attention as the other guys.
See what they do here. Rosen looks the other way on the out, incomplete. And Rod, for one of the few times we've been watching him on film and live here, not a lot of accuracy on that one, apparently.
Yeah, the timing on that was off. It seems like that one came out a little bit too fast. I don't know if Andrews got caught up a little bit. They're just trying to run a little pick play there. Timing was off on it. A little heat. Yeah. He threw that pretty hot, too.
So in comes J.J. Molson, who's perfect on the season, 2 for 2 with a long of only 33. Hasn't had a lot of opportunities. This one from 27 yards out. And Molson knocks the game at 3 apiece. Good from 27. Bruins trying to snap that 9-game losing streak against the Cardinal. This is going to be Scarlett again. Got a good return last time. Out to the 48 this time. Brought down at the 20. Took over midway through last year as the starter and led the team to a 6-0 record. Keeps it here. You don't see him run a whole bunch, and he took a hit at the 25, and he is still down. He is a little wobbly. Tuio to Mariner, and Pickett with the hit. And Keller Christ is a little foggy right now.
Well, he took that on. You like for your quarterback to slide and get down. But this is Chris taking a hit. He has no plan to go down. And he just gets crunched. He gets sandwiched by Pickett. And 2E Mariner also in on that. The two of them sandwich him.
And Krista's gonna walk off, it looks like here.
Chest.
And now Ryan Burns, the #2 quarterback, the grad student coming in. There's a look at the particulars on him. 6'5", 230, almost the same type of build, identical almost to Chris. Rod, how is he the same? How is he different?
Well, he was the starter last season. He won the job, beat out Chris last season. Not the same sort of deep ball, doesn't throw the ball deep as well as Chris, but a better runner.
And thrust into action here in the first quarter. Hands it off to Bryce and seemed a little bit unsure of himself. There it looked like there was almost a malfunction at the junction as Wade in on the tackle.
You know, Burns was, as I mentioned, a starter last year for a while, and he actually considered transferring as a graduate transfer as you take a look at Chris walking under his own power. But he decided to stick around this season. Q?
Yeah, you know, you think about the way their season has flowed against Rice. They blew the game open early. They wanted to spread the touches. And then USC and San Diego State basically played keep away. You know, last week they only had 42 offensive plays.
He's busted some big ones when he's given the chance, though. At a 53 and a 51-yarder last week. Here he is trying to get to the edge, but those Bruins sure can run. And it's going to set up a 4th down and long. Darnay Holmes, Kenny Young, and Nate Metters there to cause a 2-yard loss.
Yeah, really smart by UCLA. With Burns in the ball game, as you take a look at the offensive struggle Stanford had last week, 64 passing yards, you know, only 19 minutes of possession.
They usually win the time of possession battle.
Yeah, not last week.
21
but that was a smart play.
Number 30 for Stanford. Number 21 is now wearing number 30.
UCLA has tightened its defense, recognizing that Stanford's not throwing the ball down the field right now with the new quarterback. They're trying to get comfortable, and UCLA is attacking everything short.
Bailey with the punt. Andrews, great open field tackle at the 7-yard line on that 48-yard punt. Stanford University tied at 3-3. UCLA with the football 1st and 10 from its own 7-yard line. And Josh Rosen back out again. He attended football camps as a junior in high school here at Stanford. He hands it off.
Yeah, that's Harrison Phillips right in the middle, 66.
Yep.
You know, Stanford's best defensive lineman plugging that thing up, and they need that kind of play up front because that defensive line has had some issues so far this season.
Back to Rosen a little bit. David Shaw says no hard feelings between him and Rosen, who have bumped into each other several times over the last couple of years with Rosen as a Bruin. Plenty of time to throw. And incomplete. Justin Reed was there. Intended for Wilson.
I think he got that.
Interception.
I think he got that. I think that ball bounced into Reed's arms.
They're calling it interception. Heard a bunch of whistles down there.
Now that is Justin Reed. Recognize the name. His big brother is a safety for the 49ers. Now watch this ball bounce right off of, that's Wilson, the tight end. And Reed is right there. That ball never hit the ground. Now, Wilson usually comes up with all these. He's got great hands, and that bounces right off his hands, and Reed is in the right spot.
Looking at a Wildcat formation here on 1st and goal now. Cameron Scarlett taking the direct snap. High snap, and he's fortunate to recover it back at the 16-yard line. It'll be 2nd down and goal. One more look at Darius Pickett, or the reaction after the call. He's incredulous as well.
He thinks he made a good play, you know, and his coach thinks he made a good play. His coach has been like this the last 2 weeks. Targeting rule is the most hated rule in college football. There's no question about it. But it's also clear. It is intended for safety, and not just for the guy who's being hit, but the guy who's doing the tackling.
2nd down and goal back at the 15-yard line. Costello back in at quarterback. Batted down incomplete at the 5-yard line by Nate Metters. And going back to that targeting penalty and the DQ by Pickett, Jim Mora had an interesting view on that and what he would like to see with the rules in terms of, Rod, you were talking about a flagrant 1 and a flagrant 2 type call to discern that thing a little bit more.
Yeah, you know, you see what's happened to them this year with targeting calls. They've had guys out, but he would like to see an intentional hit get a player kicked out, but an unintentional just be a 15-yard penalty and not lose a player.
3rd and goal. Costello out of the shotgun. Got rid of it and batted down incomplete. He was under duress from the backside. Tuioti Mariner with good pressure. And it's 4th down, Q.
Yeah, there's going to be a pair of UCLA players now in the locker room. Remember, Osa Odigizua was suspended for the first half of this ball game. But the targeting rules you guys mentioned, it's meant to change behavior. So these referees are calling it if in doubt. And UCLA clearly has to change their behavior.
Yeah, there seems to be a cluster of targeting penalties on them. From 32 yards out, this is Jet Toner, made one earlier tonight from 34. Perfect 5 of 5 on the season and remains that way as Stanford takes a 6-3 lead. Jim Mora amped right now as his defense comes to the sidelines.
You know what he's telling his team? He's telling them, if we have to fight and play the officials too, we will. That's what he's telling them.
6-3, and they'll start from the 25-yard line. 1st down and 10. Under a minute to go here, and an interesting first quarter with a lot of different plot twists. The pass completed the 21-yard line to Jordan Lastly, but marked down immediately.
I don't feel like either passing attack has found any kind of rhythm. I feel like Rosen is a little bit off. You know, he's been harassed a little bit. I just don't feel like there is that flow. He hasn't gotten the ball to Andrews, you know, enough. Just out of sync right now for UCLA offensively.
Yeah, it is a team that, as I mentioned, averages 49 points a game. One of the most prolific offenses in the country. This is Jamobo exploding and still on his feet, cross midfield. And Jamobo finally chopped down at the 31-yard line. And a huge run by UCLA, whose run game continues to improve game by game.
Yeah, they did a nice job of pulling Lyman from the backside. You see this kind of counter action, and the hole opens up perfectly for Jamobo.
Quisenberry gave him a good block to get it all started. 49-yard gain. Rosen downfield, incomplete at the 9-yard line. Justin Reed there on the coverage.
He actually hit Reed with that ball.
Yeah.
You know, if he gets that ball up, gives it a little bit more air, that's probably a touchdown. But he threw it on the line and it hit Reed in the shoulder pad.
And Rod, the good news for Stanford, Keller Christ emerging from the locker room. But you wonder whether he'll be able to go back into the ball game. Hopefully we'll get an update from Quint on the other side. What a first 15 minutes. Stanford, California, Stanford University. Cardinal with a field goal lead in a very intriguing and interesting first quarter of play. Stanford has limited a very potent UCLA Bruin offense, just 3 points so far. Rob.
Yeah, they've gotten a little bit more pressure on Rosen. They've generated more of the attacking defense that I think Stanford fans have seen over the years that they haven't seen the last 2 or 3 weeks or so. And that's limited Rosen. I think it's made Rosen a bit uncomfortable. He just doesn't seem to be in the flow of things right now.
Here's the run by Jamobo. Jamobo gains about 2 yards on the play. Stanford has beaten UCLA 9 consecutive times. There's a look at the first quarter storylines, and the big one, of course, Chris going to the locker room, took a big hit. And the question begs, will we see him in the rest of the game here? Costello came in and got most of the snaps after that, as Burns got the ball immediately after.
Jonesy, I'm looking at that matchup up there.
Rosen looking that way, incomplete. And Rosen took a hit that time, and that's one of the keys, getting pressure on him.
Yeah, it's what we've talked about. He hasn't had enough time to set his feet and get to Andrews. As soon as he gets set, he had to pump that one, and then Tuhill got there and gave him a little business.
Rosen has missed on 5 of his last 6 passes.
But you saw him hesitate and pump that instead of just letting it fly.
On 4th down, from 45 yards out, J.J. Molson had enough leg and remains perfect on the season at 4 for 4. 4 field goals. The question begs, though, who's coming out at quarterback for the Cardinal? Find out after this.
Now, Stanford doesn't have a passing attack. There's not a threat. They've only picked up 22 yards passing so far in this game. And if you're UCLA defensively, you really start challenging Stanford and daring them to throw and play for the run.
This is going to be Scarlett again. Got an alley this time. Much better return. This time out to the 37-yard line before Wadu chops him down. A 31-yard return. Costello in at quarterback. We're talking about Carson Palmer. You'll see him on Monday Night Football. Costello broke his school record for career passing yards at Santa Margarita Catholic. Out of the I formation. There's a guy that can ease the burden. But you wonder if they're going to start loading up on Love now.
They are. I mean, you think about coming into this ball game and Love only having had 13 touches last week. You know, they wanted to get him the ball. That third drive, he didn't touch it. And he just touched it for the first time there. But UCLA, again, is not afraid of Stanford throwing the ball right now. So you bring an extra guy down into the box. You go 8 guys in the box, and you dare Stanford to give the ball to Love and see if they can run it.
It's the 3rd time tonight that he's carried for negative yardage. 2nd and 12 from the 35. Costello out of the shotgun. Drills the rope complete at the 40-yard line to Trenton Irwin. Picks up 5 on the play. It'll be 3rd down and about 6 to go. Irwin, a.k.a. Shaggy to his teammates, making the catch. Guy that has 150 jerseys in his closet. Great throwback collection.
Didn't we see him in a Santana Moss jersey?
Yeah.
A Joe Horn jersey?
Or a different one each day in training camp. 3rd and 6. Costello gets rid of it, incomplete. Intended for Colby Parkinson, and it's 4th and 6. They'll have to punt.
Yeah, they're struggling now. I mean, that was a big 3rd down for Costello. He needs to convert one of those for his confidence. And you saw him clutch that ball, hitch, and then pull it down and couldn't find Parkinson. So, you know, David Shaw's a little frustrated. The passing attack not moving right now.
At some point, they're going to have to make UCLA respect them through the air. Jake Bailey into punt. Darren Andrews perched at his own 13. Andrews from the 17, right up the middle. And tackled at the 28-yard line, where Rosen will come in after that 42-yard punt. Stick around. We'll be right back after this. Taking a look at the Arriaga Family Sports Center. And a little bit earlier tonight, 9 former student athletes honored before being enshrined in the 2017 Stanford Athletics Hall of Fame tomorrow night. The Collins twins, Rachel Bueller, Jackie Frank, John Gall, Cassidy Krug, Ariana Lamby, and Ryan Nelson. And men's soccer, some greats. Rosen back to pass, complete over the middle. That's Lashley. Finally brought down at the 11-yard line. Rod, when you were watching tape, you said he loves the middle of the field.
He loves the middle of the field, that place that is dark and full of terror. He doesn't worry about that. Post pattern, he waits for Lashley to clear the safety, and you notice where that ball is. Catch it and keep running. Perfect.
Into the end zone. Incomplete. His receiver tripped. It was intended for Andrews, who fell. Being covered there by Justin Reed. It'll be 2nd and 10.
It's been a streaky night for Rosen. He tries to get to Andrews, who just kind of clips his own heel there and goes down. But the last 3 throws by Rosen have been the kind of throws that we were talking about, the things we've seen on tape. You know, he makes it easy for the receiver. You called him polarizing. What do you mean by that?
He said some things on social media which have been inflammatory to some. Trying to light up Stanford here in the end zone. Touchdown Bruins. Goes right back to Andrews for the score. Those are the plays that make you love them.
This is a bad matchup for Stanford. You got Andrews working against Justin Reed, who's a safety, and Andrews gets behind him. And Rosen picks it out. I mean, you talk about a quarterback sensing things and being smart, finding matchups. He found that matchup and worked it.
That was the 7th touchdown catch this season for Andrews, the 12th of his career. The extra point good. It was Andrews that had the 65-yard touchdown catch last week in that shootout loss against Memphis. Oh, they're throwing the hammer down here on the farm. Back after this. Bruins kicking off. Once again, it's going to be Scarlett. Another nice return by Scarlett out to the 34. Love still hasn't been able to break one of those long runs. Gets an opportunity here. Puts his foot in the ground. And the turbo trying to kick in. And Love ignites the offense a little bit.
You said it, Jonesy. He gets a little crease. Little zone read action. They pull the backside tackle. And he gets to the edge. He is not a track guy. He's got track speed. He is a hard-nosed football player. And when he changes direction, I mean, that's a little Christian McCaffrey there, you know?
Two of them still very good friends. Had a chance to communicate with McCaffrey. The two did this week. Exchange texts, not about formations in the offense that's struggling, but about classes and school. That's just how they get down here at Stanford. 1st down and 10. On the slant, thrown behind the intended receiver, Colby Parkinson Quinn.
I spoke to Bryce yesterday about speed, and I asked him to compare track speed to football speed. And he said, you know, track speed is a drag race. It's just pedal to the metal. And as a youngster, he had national records in the 100 and 200. He said football speed is more like driving in traffic. You got to weave, you got to change directions, you got to change speeds. And then when you have that open lane, that's when he can hit the gas full speed. He's got a gear that really no one else on this field has.
And talk about a guy that, as a 14-year-old, ran a 10.73 in the 100. You got to put the ball in his hands, and the race is on. Love down to the 3, 1st and goal, Stanford. Great block from Donald Stewart, the wide receiver.
Just that zone read action to the short side of the field, balanced up with blockers, and it's wide open. Almost outruns the angle. Spencer gets over to make the tackle, but that short side of the field, they have the same number of blockers. They open up a huge hole. And there you see the speed that Quint was talking about.
Yeah, he's at a 75-yarder this year, 53, 51. They got an extra fullback in there. That's Nick Wilson. And this is Scarlett. Touchdown, Cardinal. The 4th rushing touchdown this season for Cameron Scarlett. But it was Bryce Love's run that set it all up.
It was Love's run and a little confidence with Costello with a couple of throws. Kind of gave Stanford some rhythm there.
Toner in for the extra point. this game is knotted at 13.
Well, brutality down on the goal line, but how beautiful is that? Leaping over it, Stanford back in it, 13-all.
Tied 13. UCLA trying to snap that 9-game losing streak against Cameron Scarlett and the Cardinal. It's something that a lot of the Cardinal players are aware of. UCLA Bruin players aren't thinking about that streak, but Jim Morris said, hey, I'd be lying to you if I didn't think it was a factor. This is Holmes still on his feet and brought down at the 25-yard line. As we 13-all. Rosen comes back the other way after looking off the defense. This is Jamobo. 3-yard gain on the play. Jamobo, a great athlete, played basketball for the Texas Titans. Getting a lot of touches here tonight for the Bruins. Rosen in the middle of the field, incomplete. Brandon Simmons there to break it up. That time, Rosen may be a little too brazen, Rod. He likes to take chances like this, right?
Well, he has a lot of confidence in that arm. Some would call it arrogant. And when you throw over the middle of the field, things can bounce around. And Stanford's playing a defense right now where they're playing nickel. They're using only 2 defensive linemen, Jonesy. So they're expecting pass and overplaying now.
Bruins 1 of 5 on 3rd down. Rosen incomplete, almost intercepted by the Cardinal. Intended for Andrews. Justin Reed will be seeing that one in his sleep.
Well, Jonesy, that's too hard. We've talked about throwing over the middle and that fastball. If your guys can't handle the fastball over the middle, this is what happens. You will have picks, and we've seen a few of those tonight. You got to take something off that middle of the field. It's dark
and filled
full
with
of terror. Got to be careful. Linebackers and safeties, oh my.
Well, Josh Rosen doesn't mind. Caught on the run, and with 2:50 to go, the Cardinal with good field position after the 38-yard punt. They've got an opportunity to maybe even get a field goal here. Let's go back to Bryce Love.
Yeah, Stanford found a way to get Bryce Love loose. They got him involved, that last series. A little bit of that zone read action you've seen so much of. Watch him block down here. Now watch the action that comes up off of this. This is Costello. He can run. So now you've put that defender in a decision position. Does he take the guy inside or outside? There's no one else there. Costello reads it correctly, gives it to Bryce Love. And because Costello is more mobile than Christ, they can run that series, and I think Stanford will use that until UCLA shows they can take it away.
1st down and 10. Love here. Great dancing between the tackles and a 1st down. Love with a pickup of 14 yards. We had a great visit yesterday with his parents, and they should be proud of this run.
Well, Stanford is lucky to have him because, his folks were not crazy about him coming all the way to California to join the Cardinal. That's a long trip for them.
It's just 2,100 miles. They got direct flights. Love with nowhere to go here. We spoke with his dad, Chris, who was also quite an athlete collegiately. Ran track at South Carolina, played football there as well. And Bryce was telling me he came to an age where he had to make that decision between track and football, and he chose football, obviously. And having a lot of success with it. Scarlett in for him now on 2nd and 13. Costello complete. And another 1st down inside field goal range to Caden Smith.
Feel the confidence growing in Costello. That's his tight end, Smith, Caden Smith, just running this inside route, and that's right on time.
Smith with his 7th reception of the season, a 20-yard gain. Costello stepping up. Completes it to Arcega Whiteside, and another 1st down for Stanford. They're starting to make some plays, an 11-yard gain that time.
Well, it's starting with J.K. Costello. He's starting to feel it. You can see the fact that he's relaxing. You see the confidence in his eyes. He's made some throws. He's moved around.
Costello with time into the end zone. Incomplete, but a flag thrown. Intended for Arcega-Whiteside, who is working against Denzel Fisher.
He is 6'3", and he caught the game winner last year against UCLA.
Pass interference. Number 25 defense. 15-yard penalty from the spot. That's an automatic first down.
He's got a couple of inches on Fisher. You see that he's got him with the left arm. Easy call. But give Costello credit for getting the ball up there and giving J.J. Arcega-Whiteside a chance and getting that call.
Hit him in the hands. Bryce Love is back in the ball game. Little play action. Costello with plenty of time. Gonna take off. Touchdown, Cardinal!
Well, Jonesy, Costello took a long time to make up his mind. He wanted to throw it, but once he decided to go, he gets cracked here at the goal line. Stanford's already seen one quarterback go out tonight with the big hit. Now, does that ball cross the plane? Looks so there.
Costello coming off the bench in relief of Keller Christ, who was shaken up in the first quarter, has not been back in the ball game since. Ryan Burns had a couple of series at the helm, but Costello seems to have taken charge here now and could be the guy moving forward with under a minute to go here in the first half. Stanford leading by 7. One more look at Costello.
Yeah, you know, he took his time here, Jonesy. He was trying to wait and throw it into the end zone, but once he made up his mind, he decided he was all in. He's all in, and he takes a big hit, but it doesn't stop him from getting into the end zone, and he is feeling pretty good, pretty confident right now.
Like, if I get hit, you better give me the touchdown. We'll take a little bit of inventory during the break. And this one shaping up to be a real competitive game, much like last year. And the Cardinal came back and stole it late. Holmes brought down right at the 20-yard line. Rosen tipped at the line, incomplete. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
And you may recall last year UCLA played Stanford, and one of Stanford's receivers got knocked out of the ball game with a hit to the head, and it was ruled that it was not the crown of the helmet. Well, David Shaw lobbied the Pac-12 and the NCAA, saying it makes no sense that it has to be just the top of the head, and they changed the rule to expand it. So now the crown of the helmet includes the top of the face mask.
You like the rule change?
I like the rule change. I mean, we've got so much going on with concussions and the like that you can't avoid that.
Blitz, and Rosen got rid of it just in time, incomplete, as Justin Reed was breathing down his neck.
Just the pressure from the outside, a safety blitz, and Rosen gets rid of it. Jonesy getting back to that targeting for a second now. Mora says, let's go flagrant 1 and flagrant 2.
Tough to judge, though, right?
Yeah, but he'd like to see that. He doesn't want to see guys kicked out when they're trying to tackle the right way.
3rd and 10. Rosen on the quick slant to Theo Howard, complete but short. They're saying the ball came loose. Stanford ball!
I don't think it hit the ground.
Theo Howard got ripped on the play, stripped clean, and the Cardinal will have possession with 35 seconds to go in the half.
That's the second drop by Howard. Now, watch closely. Does it touch the ground? He's got this ball. Actually, he's got possession of it. It does touch the ground, but he actually had possession.
Yeah, Kevin Palmer there to pounce on the loose ball.
I thought maybe he didn't make a clean catch, but he caught it and took a step and then had it knocked out, and Stanford recovers it.
J.J. Arcega-Whiteside split to the bottom of your screen. He's their home run hitter. Costello looking his way, and incomplete. Looked like it was intended for Caden Smith.
If you're David Shaw, you still have a couple of timeouts. You've got a kicker that has a lot of range. You know that this is within his range right now, and you're reminding your quarterback, no sacks and protect the football. Play the next play. You've got a couple timeouts.
Love in the backfield. 4 wideouts on the play. And they set up the screen to Love. Looking for a block, but well defended by the Bruins, and Love stopped at the 29-yard line by Kenny Young. Young was all Pac-12 last season. Makes a big play. Time winding down. They're going to manage the clock here.
Second charge timeout, Stanford. It's a 30-second timeout.
They do have a timeout remaining. They're going to give it to Love. Actually, Costello keeps it. Nice little bit of prestidigitation. Some good handling and fake with
Bless
5
you.
seconds to go.
Bless you.
Hey, it's that Stanford atmosphere wearing off on me, Rod.
You fit in, don't worry.
And in comes Jet Toner for the field goal attempt. Well within his range. This will be from 39 yards out. He's already made a couple from 34 and 32. And Toner knocks it through to give the Cardinal a 10-point lead. And that's the end of the first half. An interesting first half for David Shaw's Cardinal, looking to snap a 2-game losing streak. They lead it by 10. Right now we're going to head to the studio for our halftime report. Well, under the lights here at Stanford Stadium, a very tumultuous night for the Cardinal. Although they have the lead 23-13, getting ready to start the third quarter, we've seen 3 quarterbacks for them. Keller Christ, Ryan Burns, and KJ Costello. Let's hope we don't have to see any more if you're a Cardinal supporter. Mark Jones, Rod Gilmore, Quinn Kesnick down on the field. Rod, Stanford came into the game desperate for a win, trying to snap that 2-game losing streak. What do we look for here in the third quarter?
Well, we've already had so much, you know, between the targeting and a quarterback knocked out of the ball game. There's been a lot of action. Stanford is really about getting KJ Costello comfortable. Can he run it the rest of the way for them? And for UCLA, it really is finding your rhythm on offense again. It's been in ebbs and flows and not consistent.
UCLA going to start with the ball here from their own 25-yard lines. They can't let up defensively if you're Stanford, because this guy, Josh Rosen, is the master of the comeback. Just ask Texas A&M. He commits and connects with Lasley. Let's go down to Quinn.
Mark, I know it's only week 4, but the loser of this game puts themselves in a very, very tough spot. Any way you slice it, the loser of this game could be toast. Talking to Jim Moore, I sense that urgency from him. He said, you know, between the blocked field goal, as you see a nice completion to the tight end over the middle, between the blocked field goal, a drop touchdown pass, and turning the ball over on the road, right now we don't deserve to win. It's as simple as that.
You going to eat that, Q?
The Q, is that whole wheat or plain? Rosen underneath completes it to Caleb Wilson, and Wilson gets about 8 on the play. Reed takes him down. Yeah, the loser is toast, right, Q?
The loser could be toast. I hate to say that. Yes, it's an overreaction. Every game counts as one, but you're Stanford. You're on a 3-game losing streak if you don't get the W today. You're UCLA, and all of a sudden you're chasing USC with tough games coming up. I mean, this is a critical week 4 game for both these teams' future and their path and their confidence.
Yeah, Colorado next week for UCLA.
2nd down and 1. David Shaw feels that this year's team might be even more talented than that 2015 team that started slowly and ended up winning the Rose Bowl, number 3 in the country, as Massington makes the catch for the Bruins.
So I like the UCLA adjustment right now. Early second half, they're trying to protect Rosen. They're getting the ball out quick. Stanford's helping because they're playing nickel with 2 defensive linemen.
1st and 10. Rosen over the middle, complete.
That might be another one.
Yeah.
That might be another one on Ben Edwards.
Ben Edwards. And a flag down. I mean, he hit Darren Andrews. 15-yard gain. Andrews seemingly defenseless as he made the catch, as Holder makes his way towards the exit and the locker room.
Yeah. See,
well, they're going to reverse it.
Yeah, and I don't think the one on Holder should have been targeting. It looked to me like it was more of the shoulder. But as they looked at that play in review, the replay officials couldn't find a definitive amount of evidence to overturn it.
1st and 10. Rosen from the 11. Hands it off to Jamobo. Fumble! Loose! And the Bruins recover it. At about the 6-yard line, that's Andre James. Jamobo there, put it on the ground, and the Bruins fortunate to get it back. That's Andre James.
Jones.
2nd down and 7. Jamobo met by a stack of Cardinal defenders at about the 3-yard line, which is probably where his forward progress is going to be marked.
This is a critical 3rd down for UCLA, and remember, they had a touchdown pass dropped in the end zone. They missed Darren Andrews once. I really think that Wilson down here is a good target for them. You can expect Stanford to bring pressure. I mean, they want to make sure that Rosen moves his feet and flush him out of the pocket.
2 tight ends, 2 wide outs, single back. Jamobo. Looks like they stopped. Touchdown. Nope. They give him the touchdown.
How about that surge inside by UCLA? Everyone expecting a pass, and you've got Turan at left guard and Quessenberry at center, getting a good strong push, handling that Stanford defensive line, pushed them almost all the way back into the end zone.
Jamobo right there between the tackles.
Thank you.
Just kept it moving.
Not often that you see that Stanford defensive line get manhandled like that, pushed back into the end zone. And UCLA did a great job that time.
Jamobo led the team in rushing a season ago. That's his 2nd rushing touchdown of the year. And we have a 3-point ball game. Each team has had a player ejected in the ball game due to targeting. Here's Scarlett. They run it to the right again, but this time no success, and he's brought down at the 19-yard line. A Bruin player clutching his knee, Burton. Slings it. Contact. What a catch by Arcega-Whiteside. A flag on the play.
That's going to be pass interference.
Pass interference. Number 22 defense. That penalty is declined. Result of the play is a 1st down.
Watch him go up and get this. It's a great catch.
Boy.
And again, UCLA is quite familiar with him since he won last year's game with a touchdown in the final seconds. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. And Costello confident putting that ball out there.
They line up out of the eye this time. Daniel Marks, the fullback. They run the reverse to Weddington. He's got some burners. Got loose. Weddington still on his feet. Down to the 18.
End around to Connor Weddington, the freshman who had 10 catches coming into the season. Great quickness, great speed. They got folks out in front of him. Jesse Burkett, the center, led the way, and all of a sudden Stanford is inside UCLA's 20-yard line.
Huge play by Weddington of 43 yards. They line up out of the eye again. Williams, the fullback. They run a little power. Love behind some good blocking from Williams. Down to the 15-yard line. Got 4 on the play. Love still hasn't had that huge one that he's provided so often this year.
Well, he's the focal point of the UCLA defense. I mean, they're basically saying if Costello wants to beat them and beat him with his arm, then fine. But Love is going to get all of UCLA's attention.
2nd and 6. Costello into the end zone. Touchdown, Cardinal! What a grab by Irwin!
He is playing with a lot of confidence. Way more than he had when this game started, and he put that ball on the line, and Irwin, who has the best hands on the team, comes up with this. Look at that. Perfectly thrown ball, great catch. Your buddy Shaggy with that catch.
Costello with his first career touchdown pass, giving Stanford a 10-point lead. And Trenton Irwin, a guy with 150 throwback jerseys in his closet. Tell you what, that was a big-time grab. And the Cardinal all amped up. Tell you what, the Cardinal in the fast lane on that drive. 6 plays, 92 yards. And boy, KJ Costello looked very comfortable in moving the team down the field. Irwin right there with a touchdown catch on Costello's first touchdown pass of his career. Guy that got a lot of reps in the summer and spring when Christ was coming back from ACL surgery and sat out a lot of that time. Costello felt that he improved in learning the nuances of the offense of offensive coordinator Mike Bloomgren, getting guys in the right spot, pass protections, shifting things. Rosen going to take a shot, complete. Out to the 37-yard line, and a first down by the Bruins.
That's Pabico on that
with
catch.
A great catch in traffic. And Stanford comes out of the pile with the ball.
That's Alameen Murphy with the ball like he just took it from Pabico. I think we all assumed the play was done. Mora can't figure it out. Pabico made a great catch off of a great throw, and then it kind of got lost for a minute.
That was an incredible ending to the play.
Yeah, they held him up and took the ball away. You see the ball came out. Pabico is on the ground face down without the football, and Murphy has it.
Here's a look at the whole thing.
Now, this throw is fantastic. This is unbelievable. Look at this throw. Perfect on the money. And now they hold him up. Meeks holds him up, and everybody is stripping him of the ball. Pabico loses it. Alameen Murphy comes away with it.
And an animated head coach, Shaw.
You think he doesn't recognize that this game is a pivotal one for Stanford? Urgency, sense of urgency they talked about this week?
Said he was tired of the team looking great in practice Monday through Thursday and not having it translate to the field on Saturday. Love with a little translation for you there. And a great burst up the middle for the first down.
How about the finish to the run by Love? He doesn't go down easily. He doesn't just get contact and end it. He tries to run through it and split the defenders. You're not talking about a track guy. You're talking about a football player.
14-yard gain for Love. Still holds a national record in the 100 meters for the 13 to 14-year age group. Love gets another chance. Good cutback. Put his foot in the ground. They're trying to strip the ball from him, but he hangs on to it to get about 8. Josh Woods making the tackle for the Bruins. This is the Stanford football we've been waiting to see, right?
Well, and it's the same play that we talked about in the first half that Stanford has run. They're running that kind of zone read, and they're running it to the short side of the field, and they're getting some washing down of the blocking and then allowing Love to be the ball carrier if Costello gives it to him.
20 rushes for 142. And the 21st, close to a touchdown. They're going to rule him just short of the end zone. Bryce Love shaking his head, saying, I'm trying to eat. I'm trying to get fed out here.
Yeah, he says he was in. Let's see, was he in? Backside down before the ball crosses the plane. That's a good call.
The ball about 6 inches from the end zone. Cameron Scarlett coming into the ball game in place of Love. Nick Wilson, the offensive lineman, lining up in the backfield. And that time, no doubt for Scarlett. And the Cardinal lead up to 16 points. That is the second touchdown tonight for running back Cameron Scarlett.
David Shaw was feeling lucky. He rolled the dice on a 4th down play. Schultz picks up the 1st down, and after Stanford got down close to where everybody could smell each other's breath, Scarlett up and over, and Stanford is up 37-20.
This is Darnay Holmes, the freshman. And stopped up just short of the 20-yard line. 1st down and 10. Rosen gets rid of it quickly. Complete to Wilson. Ball rolls out of bounds. Right, I want to ask you something about Stanford that's kind of unique. They're on a quarter system here. The players haven't even been to class yet. It doesn't start till Monday.
Yeah.
How does that impact football? You went through it here.
Yeah, well, you know, there's an energy that comes to campus, and it's a distraction because you've been on campus for 6 weeks without anybody else.
Nice catch up in the flat by Lastly. Eluded one tackler and finally brought down at midfield. Missed tackle on the play by Antoine, and a 22-yard gain with 46 seconds to go in the 3rd.
And Rosen can get things going. This is what he did to Texas A&M. Got a score in that 3rd quarter, and then that 4th quarter, he really heated up.
Rosen has time, finds Lastly, still on his feet, and the Bruins still alive and breathing. Touchdown on the 39-yard strike.
Jonesy, 2 things. Texas A&M. 3rd quarter score, Rosen heated up, and UCLA started rolling. The second thing, accuracy, accuracy, accuracy. You want to get yards after the catch, you put a ball right there like that. Doesn't break stride, just keeps moving. Lastly has nothing to worry about except speed.
And that is huge. With the end of the quarter coming up, Molson gets it inside that left upright off the treacherous snap. And Jordan Lastly telling everybody in the first few rows that we're not going anywhere. We're only down by 10. Scarlett back deep, number 22. Scarlett at the 13. Out to the 27. One more. Costello at the reins at quarterback. Love with nowhere to go. Brought down just around the 25. Tagaloa, the first one to get there. And that's going to be the end of the 3rd quarter of play. The Stanford Cardinal trying to make it 10 straight wins against UCLA. And KJ Costello is going to be the guy for the Cardinal down the stretch. Nobody expected him to be playing such a prominent role. Can he close it out? We'll find out when we come back. 10-point lead for Stanford. They're going to have the ball here in just a minute. And Mark Jones alongside Rod Gilmore. Quinn down on the field. First down and 10 for the Cardinal. K.J. Costello in at quarterback. Costello taking over from Keller Christ, was injured in the first quarter. Took a hit to the head and hasn't been back since. Costello has been on fire, completes another one. This one to J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. And what do you make of the way that he's played since taking over?
Well, he's given Stanford an intermediate passing attack, something they haven't had for a couple of weeks. And that's really helped. You can see the offense is flowing much better. They've scored more points. But it's because Costello has thrown the ball incredibly well. And that was a point of emphasis after Stanford threw for less than 100 yards last week against San Diego State.
Third down and 1. Cameron Scarlett in the backfield. They're going to load it up. And he'll lunge forward to get the first down. Cameron Scarlett has a brother, Brennan, that plays for the NFL's Houston Texans. His dad, Paul, ran track at BYU from some pretty good athletic bloodlines.
How about Stanford getting back to its identity? I mean, it's run for more than 200 yards tonight. You saw that third down with the extra linemen. A little bit of that physical advantage that they have used against UCLA over the 9-game winning streak.
They try to set up the screen. Nobody home. Scarlett, the intended receiver. 2nd and 13. Love getting a breather on the sidelines. And we talked about the 2 long runs he had last week of 53 and 51 yards against San Diego State. Love back in the ball game.
You know, when you play Stanford, if you can't handle their power run game, you know, where they kick out with the fullback and they pull around with a backside guy, you can't stop that play. You're gonna struggle with them. That is their bread and butter play, and they run a lot of things off of it.
Love has gotten a lot of touches tonight. Gets another one here. He's brought down almost immediately. Now, Love is the guy coming in the wake of Christian McCaffrey, who was so successful, so prolific here. What do you make of the way that he's handled that role so far, albeit just 3 games into the season? Right?
Well, they use him differently than McCaffrey. I mean, he's certainly as explosive from the line of scrimmage, rushing the ball. You know, 25 carries, 156 yards. But they don't use him in the passing game the way McCaffrey was used. McCaffrey was not only the best running back that came out in the draft last year, he was the best receiver. You know,
2 of them keep contact frequently. 3rd and 6 now. Costello, and a flag thrown at the 22-yard line. Darnay Holmes being victimized by Colby Parkinson, the intended receiver.
Smart play.
Pass interference. Number 1, defense. Our penalty from the previous spot. That's an automatic first down.
So UCLA comes with the blitz, single coverage. Costello recognizes it. 6'7" Colby Parkinson against 5'10" Holmes. Put the ball up there. Holmes had no choice but to try to be physical. Couldn't see the ball. That's a good, smart play by Costello to put that football out there.
Holmes really struggled last week in that loss against Memphis. He was victimized repeatedly.
Look, I can tell it's no fun if you're a 5'9", 5'10" corner and you get posted up by a 6'7" wide receiver. You got no chance.
You can almost hear him saying, "Hey, I got a little one." On 1st and 15. Love cuts it back. Put his foot in the ground. Down to the 3. 1st and goal, Stanford. There's that jet that kicked in for Love.
Well,
30
Jonesy,
yards.
you got it. They wash everything down to the left. He just sticks his foot in the ground, cuts back to the right side, intended to go that way with it. It's a beautiful run, and you saw the speed again. Great job of washing everybody down one way and letting him cut it back.
10th play of the drive here. 1st and goal. Love keeps those legs moving down to the 5-yard line. Pick up a 4 on the play.
You know, Jonesy, Stanford talked about having only 42 plays last week and Love only having 13 touches. And they were determined to get him the ball tonight. I'd say plan executed.
They've been feeding him early and often. With great frequency, 27 rushes tonight for him. Second and goal, Stanford. Love again. He got hit down to the 3-yard line. Would making the initial hit for the Bruins. The free safety coming up to make the stop. And it's third and goal, Stanford.
Critical for UCLA here to get a stop and hold Stanford to a field goal. That would keep it at a 2-possession game.
This has been a long, workmanlike, arduous drive. And Stanford's time of possession perhaps fatiguing to that UCLA defense. 4 on the play clock. Scarlett in the ball game. Great play action. Oh! Behind the receiver. Incomplete for Schultz. And he was wide open.
Well, Schultz is asking for a review. He says he caught it. And he believes he's pretty confident about it. He's saying, take a look at that. I caught that thing. Now, Costello didn't make it easy on him. He's wide open, and he pulls the string on it. He might have gotten his hand underneath that.
And we were talking with officials prior to the game as to what's a catch and what's not a catch. He had his hand underneath that football.
His hand is between the ball and the ground.
The receiver had his hand under the ball for a catch. Touchdown.
There you go. Well, great effort by Dalton Schultz, his second touchdown catch of the season and the 4th of his career. 6'6" senior out of Jordan, Utah. Makes it 43-27 and now 44-27 on a night when the third string QB is lighting up the scoreboard. Had a chance to speak with Keller Chris, former pre-calculus teacher, Mr. Lynn. And UCLA going to start off first down and 10. UCLA down with just under 9 minutes to go. Trying to make it 10 straight wins against the Bruins, Stanford is. A nice run that time once again by Jamavo. First down and 10, picked up 15 on that run. Is there another magical comeback for Rosen and the Bruins? Lastly, with a nice straight arm, pushed out of bounds as Murphy pushed him out.
You know, Jonesy, one of the things that Stanford's done pretty decently on defense is kind of kept Darren Andrews out of the mix. 4 catches, not a lot of big plays.
Rosen under some heat and incomplete. Good pressure by that Stanford defensive front. They've gotten a little bit of heat on him tonight, haven't they, Rob?
Well, yeah, the whole approach was to get in his face and make him move his feet. He's a terrific pocket passer. Stanford felt confident that if they could get him to move his feet, get him off the spot, that they could impact him. And it's worked. And when they haven't had pressure on him, he has picked them apart.
Okereke was in his grill that time. 3rd and 5 for UCLA. Trying to make that desperate comeback. A little bit of contact. No flag on the play. Incomplete, intended for Wilson. And Justin Reed was there. 4th and 5. And the offense going to stay on the field here for Jim Mora.
Well, it may even be more than that. I mean, they may have to not only try and convert this, but a little sense of urgency, move faster, because Stanford is chewing up the clock when they get the ball back. So you may only have 2 or 3 more possessions, and you probably need 3 or 4.
Time running out on them. 8:09 to go. Rosen going to take off and run, picks up the first down, and slides head first at the 41-yard line. Keep the drive alive. Rosen and Mora have a special relationship. The two of them until recently were pretty much neighbors in their Southern California neighborhood. 13-yard gain. Hand off to Jamabo again.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned back in the first quarter about Rosen being polarizing because he spoke out against, you know, the notion of college football and academics going together, and he spoke out against UCLA's new deal with Under Armour, those things.
He completes the pass to the near side of the field. Lastly brought down. Yeah, he was, you know, largely criticized for some of the comments he made, but largely applauded on the other side of some of the things that he tweeted out on social media.
I just find it odd that, you know, the media doesn't want cliches, but when a guy speaks out, he gets ripped.
Yeah. Rosen got it away in time and took a hit back near midfield. Good pressure again by Bobby Okereke. Yeah, you know, I like the fact that he's got some swag to him.
Well, he's not going to
and a lot of talent.
Yeah, he's not going to toe the company line. Yeah, he's going to speak his mind, and he's got some freedom to do that. He likes to think of himself as speaking up for others who can't, his teammates and players who let's face it, need more money than he doesn't need the money because his family has money, but he worries about his teammates who are hurting for cash.
Second down and 10. Completes it to his tight end, Caleb Wilson. Another first down. A 14-yard gain on the play.
Speaking of cash, he's going to make a lot of money as an NFL quarterback because those throws are right on the money. He's just been perfectly giving people the chance to run after the catch.
Little play fake looking into the end zone. Touchdown wide open. And the Bruins hanging around. Eldridge Massington with the catch.
That was a perfectly executed drive in terms of timing. 7 minutes left. You get on the board. You make it a two-possession game, and now you're hoping that your defense can get it going. But Rosen has done his job. Got him right back on the board. Looks off, comes back. Finds Massington on the right side.
11-point ball game. Never want to leave too much time on the clock for Josh Rosen. Texas A&M found that out earlier this season. Don't go anywhere, folks. Just under 7 minutes to go. Josh Rosen.
You know,
you want to keep an eye on.
You know what he's thinking? Just give me enough time. Get the ball back. Give me enough time.
6:59 to go. And Stanford is winning the time of possession battle tonight. Something that didn't happen last week in that loss against San Diego State. And a nice return again by Scarlett. Stanford has had the ball for almost 34 minutes compared to just 19 for the Bruins. And Love getting another chance here. Rod, how important is this drive for Stanford, and how do you burn clock without being too conservative here?
Well, I think it's a bigger drive for UCLA defensively. And I think UCLA has to roll the dice here. They need a 3 and out, and they got to get the ball back. And so you can't be conservative here. If you're conservative, you're just going to lose clock time. So they've got to use their run blitzes. They got to come after Stanford, get 3rd and long, you know, preserve as much time as possible. This is the time where UCLA has to make their stand if they're going to get back in this.
And Tom Bradley, the defensive coordinator, looking for a big play out of his defense. Defense that came in ranked 121st in the country. Toss to Love. Cuts it up. Cuts it back. Love on the loose. And Love never lies. Touchdown, Stanford. "69 yards in all."
He is something special. Watch him cut this back. We've seen him do this a couple times tonight, and you can forget about it. I mean, the out-and-out speed is there, but the change of direction is much better than anyone really believed. Boy, can he do it. And that thing was wide open for him.
Right when he and Christian McCaffrey text this week like they normally do, there's going to be a lot to talk about. And I'm not talking about astrophysics class this week either.
Well, you know, look at that. 30 rushes.
Wow.
30 carries after having only 13 touches last week.
Bryce Love, he got that sauce. Gave him a double dose tonight. A career high night. Darnay Holmes on the return out to the 18-yard line. Every year it seems like David Shaw is the hot new candidate to be in the NFL. Jamabo brought down inside the 40, and they try to strip him of the ball. And a late flag thrown on the play.
Foul, unnecessary roughness. Number 52 offense, 15-yard penalty, still first down.
Against Quessenberry.
Yeah, that's Quessenberry coming in at the end trying to help out Jamabo, and he gets flagged for it.
And I don't know if you're just trying to move the pile.
No longer cleaning up the piles. That used to be okay, but you can't come in and take shots at guys who are standing around.
1st and 10. Rosen throws it. Lasley broke it off, and he's picked off back at the 17 by Ben Edwards. And Edwards brought down at the 26-yard line, and that might just do it. 17-point lead. That's the 4th turnover tonight for the Bruins.
Complete miscommunication. Rosen thought it was a deep route. His receiver thought it was short. He hung it up there. And that was Lasley, number 2, that he had the miscommunication with. And, you know, Rosen says they're a couple of plays a game. It's actually more than that. They ask so much of him. And he'll throw it 50, 55 times a game. When you do that, if 10% of your plays you have an issue, that's 5 plays that could really hurt you. And most quarterbacks are throwing it 25 or 30 times. You know, it's 2 or 3 plays.
Cameron Scarlett in the game. The backs lining up out of the eye. Stanford in control here. Looking to go even up on the season at 2-2. And Scarlett gains about 3 yards on the play, Quint.
Stanford's defensive pressure up front much improved tonight. And Rosenrod, I want to get your opinion. He threw that one off his back foot. That seems to be an issue on some of his turnovers this year. There are 15 NFL scouts here tonight watching him play. Many of them spent earlier in the day over at USC Cal watching Sam Darnold, and it'll be interesting to see. Would love to see their notes after a day of looking at 2 of the premier quarterbacks. Well,
look, Darnold and Rosen have had trouble protecting the football. I mean, Darnold's thrown a number of picks this year. And Rosen tonight, 34 of 53 with 2 picks.
Threw a couple last week as well. Here's Scarlett. Got a nice lead bop. 1 man to beat. Scarlett lunging. And he stepped out of bounds back at the 7-yard line. But a great run of 62 yards by Cameron Scarlett.
Well, Scarlett tries the stiff arm to finish this off, but this is just kind of what we've seen over the years with Stanford and UCLA. Stanford's rushing attack just pounding UCLA. 398 yards on the ground tonight. And that's got to make Jim Morris sick.
This Bruin defense has been much maligned coming into the game tonight. Scarlett brought down at the 4. The Bruins defensively were 121st in the nation.
Yeah, they were giving up 275 yards a game coming into tonight. It's not going to get any better. They've just given up 400 yards to Stanford's offense on the ground. And you look back over this streak under Mora, and this will be the 7th loss to Stanford. Stanford has run the ball at will.
They're just rolling up their sleeves and playing some smash ball on the Bruins tonight. Scarlett. Touchdown. A little more intellectual brutality by the Cardinal. His 3rd touchdown of the night.
Well, one of the things David Shaw talked about doing was getting back to Stanford's style of play, reestablishing their identity, being physical, being tough, running the football. I think they've done that tonight.
They sure have. The yards piling up on offense, especially on the ground. Scarlett and Love. Love with a career-high night. Scarlett doing the honors a moment ago. What is it that makes him a great fit here at Stanford and makes him want to stay year after year?
Well, he should be a candidate every year. He's had that kind of success. But he understands Stanford, and he is in no rush to consider the NFL. People forget he coached in the NFL. He knows what the NFL is about. His father coached in the NFL for years. He sees no reason to hurry to get to the NFL when he enjoys what he's doing. His family enjoys what they're doing in the Stanford community. He's only 45. I mean, he may coach at the NFL at some point, but there's no rush for him.
He has done an awesome job here on the farm. And nowhere to go on the return by Darnay Holmes. Real enjoyable last couple of days out here. You talk about David Schott not wanting to leave the Stanford area, this Palo Alto area, and a lot of reasons why, Rod.
I keep telling you to come out here. We just don't have any housing for you. Unless you want to back up the Brinks truck.
I'll get that 1-bedroom box somewhere. Rosen down the middle of the field, very proficient at doing that. Wilson with the catch, and some pretty good facilities here on campus. You know, I was hoping to run into Katie Ledecky at some point during my trip here, the Olympic gold medalist swimmer.
Yeah.
Goes to school here. Had a great visit with Tara Vanderveer, the NCAA championship basketball coach, the women's team. Always does a fantastic job as Rosen runs out of bounds.
So what do you think is on the horizon for Stanford now? How important can this game be for sending them into a nice streak going forward?
Boy, they look pretty good, and the impressive part about what they did tonight was almost seamlessly moving forward with KJ Costello at quarterback. And I mean, you can almost hear it now. I mean, you can almost see a lot of the guys in the media booth writing their stories about a potential quarterbacking issue moving forward.
Well, there may not be an issue right off the bat. I mean, we have no idea what Keller Chris' situation is.
Right.
Whether he'll be available for Stanford for practice or a game next week, or, you know, for a couple of weeks. We know that he took a big hit and that he was knocked out of the game.
First down and 10. Quint passing incomplete. Q mentioned that Stanford, like a lot of schools, does not release a lot of medical information and stuff like that during games. Rosen completes the pass. Another one to Darren Andrews. So if the draft is tomorrow and you're the GM or the team with the first pick and you got to take a quarterback, Rosen, they're going to whistle is dead. Is it going to be Rosen or Darnold? Who do you take?
False start, number 81 offense. That penalty is declined. The game is over.
You want to keep him hanging until next week?
Yeah, why don't we wait? I can study Darnold and Rosen a little bit more. Can wait on me for that one.
Yeah, we got UCLA and Colorado next week, folks. So Rod will give you his answer on that at that point. But a tough night for Rosen, but not for Coach Shaw and the Cardinal. Love with a career-high running the ball as Stanford got back to putting some muscle in its hustle as they defeat UCLA going away. For Rod Gilmore and Quint Kesnick, I'm Mark Jones. SportsCenter starts in 15 seconds.